Okay, I'm recording. So we can send this to Sarah when she.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, there we go. So I went through the first paragraph on the note that I sent to you, Sarah. Is the convening of these alumni. They came up with some interesting ideas. Some of those are reflected in the talking points later on in this document that I sent. But we may end up going in a completely different way. I just wanted to bring up the stuff that they were talking about. Online experience. Seth, what do you think?
So a couple thoughts. On one side, you have trying to duplicate what we normally do at camp. And I think a lot of the things actually could be accomplished online. There's a significant number that we do that we could accomplish online. The thing that jumps out to me is that is by far the toughest thing and probably impossible is that I think one of the most rejuvenating and kind of energizing facets of our camp is when they get together and rehearse and perform their pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's technology that you can try to do an ensemble online, but probably nothing we could have access to. We're not going to do the Eric Whitaker virtual choir scenario. And so trying to rehearse and perform their pieces if we're not together is probably not going to happen.
Have you tried that yet?
I have not tried it myself, but I mean, I know even just conversing with people online, there's a delay, you know, everything you say, they don't actually hear you until a second later. So, which may not be actually too much different than the difficulties we have in the first rehearsal.
It's Wednesday night, every night.
But that part of it is probably impossible to recapture. However, I'm already doing a lot of teaching online. I have several composition students online. And if they email me the finale file, we can look at it together and I can play stuff for them. And there's a lot of it that works perfectly fine. What I was going to say, though, is that conversely, there are things you can do online with a group of people that you can't do easily in a online setting that are really cool and efficient. Like, for instance, I'm teaching a theory class. It's Theory 4, and we're covering 20th century music. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I do have them write little 6 or 8 measure melodies that recapture and kind of simulate the theory techniques that they're learning about. So writing it in one of the modes or writing a serial row or something like that.
Yeah.
And this generation, all you have to do is say, write this thing, take a video of yourself performing it and upload it to this link, and then comment on what your colleagues did. And they just take it and run with it. They can produce a video in about 5 seconds while the rest of older people are sitting there fumbling with it. Probably not you, but.
I've been working on this video for 15 hours, getting ready for this 15 hours to get this going. No,
so there are things like that. If we resign ourselves to the fact that we're not going to completely duplicate what we do at the U of M, but we play into the strengths of what we have with the technology, you could have a really cool experience that's not exactly the same experience.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, tell me what you think, Eric, about that idea.
I think I agree. I haven't been doing a whole lot of, I haven't been doing a lot of like songwriting or recording teaching, but I have had one lesson with Rashawn actually over Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I've been teaching him how to use his digital audio workstation on there.
Right.
And it feels like I'm a YouTube video that they're kind of watching and interacting with. And like Seth said, there are like a lot of advantages that come with that. Like the fact that we last year, since we stopped going to McNally, or since it stopped existing, since we went to a computer format anyway, I feel like this is like made for this almost.
Yeah, they're that close.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think it'd be kind of great. I don't know. I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages almost. The Eric Whitaker style thing, I actually, in my mind, I was like, that could be kind of cool. And then you said that, and I'm like, oh, maybe not then.
It would take a lot of time on just producing and mixing and editing all of that.
Yeah.
It would be a different experience. I agree with Seth that one of the things that we can't do is the stuff that we do impromptu and all those many rehearsals. People are reconfiguring themselves in different ways. That's absolutely lost in the setup. We can't do it. The thing that Yasha and Jacob and Max were talking about was the opportunity to work with, instead of readings with a chamber ensemble, they would like to have an opportunity to work with a professional player, an individual, and record, like you said, Seth, record the rehearsal, the collaboration. They could share that and save it onto a YouTube channel if we set it up. And then there could be 2 or 3 of those sessions where they have a chance to work with a really good player. And then they have that reading experience, but it would miss out on having everybody play the role of the conductor and the performer and the amanuensis and the recording engineer and all of the various things that I think makes the junior composers very different than anything else. But that's sort of the nature of things, I think. So also Max wanted to know if we could do, or Sam wanted to know if we might consider doing electronics and then, an acoustic instrument with electronics. And that's a possibility because, the player would be recording with the electronics that were created by the student. So,
and honestly, we should consider just electronic music in general.
Yeah, that's right.
They're messing with their computers. There's nothing wrong with just going for it.
Yep.
Saying, what's the coolest thing you can come up with using this kind of medium or this kind of program, and just play into that.
Yep, absolutely. And everybody should know at that age a lot more than I do about DAWs, what a digital audio workstation, what are the various ones that cost money or are free, and what the user interface is, and what sounds libraries you can get. I think these are all skills that everybody needs to learn. This then, Eric, means that you're going to play a bigger role.
You mean like like with all the students?
Yeah. Gulp.
Probably. A little bit. No, I'm pretty fluent in most of them.
What platforms do you work in?
Logic mostly.
Yeah.
But I can operate Pro Tools, and then I can figure my way out in like Ableton or
Audacity.
Audacity.
Yeah.
Reaper, I know, is a free one.
Yeah. And what about Fruit Loops, or it's got a FL?
Fruity Loops, yeah.
Loops. That's another application.
Yeah. I probably should look into what the free ones are and kind of get more familiar with them, just to kind of.
It's like MuseScore, the equivalent of MuseScore, right?
Yeah.
The one thing about this is that the notational, maintaining a higher standard for, if we did this electronically, getting the right notation. I'm thinking people like Xander already has a challenge doing the notation. And if it's just an electronic score, he can make the audio sound great, but he's not learning things about how to notate. And I think that would be a difficult thing to maintain high quality or high standards when people are doing that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I follow Xander on Instagram, and he posted, he's like, I just posted on SoundCloud the last thing I'll ever have written on MuseScore.
Yeah.
He's like Reaper for life or something like that. So So
Your
you're probably
literacy
right.
overall.
Exactly. I was like, you're probably right about that case, but
Well, I'm sort of highlighting the composer theme. Seth, do you think acoustic solo, electronics?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if one way of breaking down the program would be for them to write something that could be played by someone else, such as an acoustic solo,
Yeah.
and then have them do something that they can present themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also could be acoustic if they feel proficient in expressing themselves on an instrument like they would want it to be played. But
Cool.
it could also be electronic
Yep.
if they feel more comfortable doing that.
I think it sounds great. And what about, go
So
ahead.
if we had a list of instruments that they could write a solo acoustic piece for,
Yep.
then they could do that. Here's another question. I'm just going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
Personally, if I was making a prediction, I would say that society will be back up and running by July, but not necessarily the U of M running all their programs by July. And so, do you think there's any chance that the people that are local in Minneapolis could convene and do something, even if it's not our full-fledged program at U of M?
Are you asking about facilities or people?
Well, kind of both. Like, for instance, if we wanted to get together and meet with some people that were around there, how hard would it be to come up with a church or a hall to meet in for a few hours during the week? And what would that look like?
I think it's possible. I just delivered some music to Phil Brunel, and he's doing church services, recording them, I think, on Friday for the following Sunday. And it brings together the soloists, and they're in the church choir loft, and everybody's 6 feet or more away from each other. And he sits at the keyboard and plays, and they sing along. They're doing the Hallelujah chorus on Sunday with 6 soloists. And then everybody at home will sing along because everybody knows that song, I guess. But I think that it's come July, I don't know. I think maybe there may be some facilities open, and the question I have is not whether we could find a space, because I think we could. I think the question is, where are the kids going to sleep and eat?
Well, and I'm not thinking that there would be a residency program at all.
Oh, you mean just the Twin Cities?
Just the Twin Cities, and if we could get a few people together, that would actually allow us to still do our call for scores and have an ensemble come in that students, right?
Yeah.
I was reminded of that today because I got an email from Becca Baker, who was there last year.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about how excited she was for camp and asking questions about the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could still offer that, that would be a draw. In which case, they wouldn't only be dealing with solo pieces. They could write an ensemble piece that's read at a different location. Of course, we have plenty of technology to be able to let them hear and participate in the reading.
Is Becca Twin Cities? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I think she's from Colorado. But but if we could get an ensemble together in Minneapolis, they could read, the students could hear what they wrote from a remote location. And so part of the ensemble experience would still be there, even though they're not playing in one themselves.
Do you want to take the risk that we are going to be able to get together, or do you want to have a backup?
I definitely have a backup.
What's the backup?
The backup would be seeing who amongst us or what close contacts we have that could read solo pieces. I could think of somebody that could do cello.
Yeah, I can too.
I also think of somebody that could do saxophone.
Yeah, saxophone. Yep.
Any number of things. I'm sure Emily could read, and who else.
Yeah.
So, and we could contract with a killer soloist that wants to try some of this stuff.
Yep. I think the one of the questions that there was uniform agreement on is, could we do the draft if we have players who are going to do back, if this is the plan B is we can't get together, could we have a draft and then that could be played out as to, I don't know. I don't know how to make that work.
Yeah, at that point, anybody participating in the draft would have to be local to where they could get together and play together.
Yeah. Well, unless you had, you're right. Unless you had electronics with a live performer, I don't know. I think the draft becomes less of an issue, actually.
So I have a question for you guys. What do you think about trying to find people to participate in this that aren't even our junior composers' normal crew, but using this as a way of broadening out to people who would never necessarily come to camp anyway?
Yep.
How many people do we know to make this in some way better than we normally do? You know what I mean?
Well, I think so. Go ahead, Eric.
I mean, I have a couple. I think it's weird because I have some students who I think could be kind of like budding composers, but that's not my specialty. So it's hard for me to like sell them on the other side of the thing. And they're very much beginners. So I think it's hard to sell them on traveling. But yeah, I was just thinking that this would be a really nice kind of getting their foot in the door, kind of, at least out here.
Yeah, I think Sarah's got a lot of students who don't live in Minnesota. Through McPhail, they have Skype lessons. So she'll have something to weigh in on that. But I think the 2/3, I don't think I'm not sure this is true, but a little less than 2/3 of our costs go to the university. Is that right, Seth?
Something like that.
So
it's very high.
If we, here's 100%. You see the top finger and the bottom finger? Here's what it costs us to do camp. We could do something about here, charge this much, and we'd have this much more to pay for artists and performers, and if we have to get a platform for a DAWs or something, I don't have an idea, but there's a way to cut the price significantly because we aren't doing room and board, and
Right.
and yet we wouldn't have to reduce it 50% on the cost. We could make it a little bit more, and that margin would give us a little bit more with online resources that we're going to need. So I think there's a great opportunity, but it requires us to promote this and to inform folks, change our website, and do a little bit more promotion, letting people know what we have in mind. I think that could be a real opportunity for growth.
So one of the things in my theory classes that I've been noticing is when I first started, as you guys know probably is true for all the universities in the country, we were told mid-March basically that the remainder of the semester was going to be done online, and no face-to-face classes. And it's funny because you spend the first 2 weeks sort of being bummed out about all the stuff you wanted to do with your students that now you're not going to be able to do sufficiently in a stupid, online format. But then as I'm getting into this, I'm starting to open my mind to all the stuff that I can do that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And once you get past the disappointment, you sort of reinvent everything you're trying to do and realize that you can actually do some things better, even though some things aren't the same.
Give us an example, Seth.
Well, like all the super easy ways of assessing knowledge by having them watch a video and then respond to it and immediately turn something in. And all the ways of easily grading things when they can all upload it to the same place. And all the ways that they can view each other's work by having a stack of links on one page rather than like trying to hustle around a room and get people ready to play something live.
Right.
There's all sorts of efficient things that you can do. And you just have to get past the point of trying to duplicate what you would do live.
That's right. I think that's absolutely right. That's what my experience has been.
Yep. And so what I'm thinking is, with this, if we try to, for instance, duplicate theory classes live, it could be that I could upload some nice videos for them, but I'm not going to give them 2 hours of videos every day. That just starts to sound like school, which they don't want to be doing in the summer.
Yeah.
And so some stuff, if we try to duplicate it, it's going to be laborious and not very much fun. But if we play into the strengths of what we're doing and we make it fun, we might just expand our demographic far beyond what we thought, and have something that people are talking about, because they're really attracted by what we are offering.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Seth. What about ear training?
I've got some fun activities that we can do. I don't think, let's see. Now, dictation itself can be somewhat tricky, but like what I'm doing is I'm uploading examples of different styles, and then I give a selection of different composers and terms, and you can set up all sorts of interactive quizzes to get them listening and responding. And so that's something that can be done. We'd have to talk about, what we're aiming for exactly. But if it's short tutorial videos and you make them fun, it's not bad uploading, a 5 or 6 minute video and asking them to watch it and respond to it, to sort of get something accomplished in the realm of like classes and things as we would normally do them.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. One, I'd like to contribute this thing about tonesavvy.com. There are harmonic, melodic dictation quizzes that you say, I'm going to take 10 questions, or you can say I take 75 questions, however many you want to do. And then you have to get to a certain level, and then it moves up to the next level.
What's it called, Randall?
Tone Savvy. It's on the document that I've got. I just put it up there. It's tonesavvy.com. And it's basically individualized where you are. You can drill it until you get a accomplishment, and then you move up to the next level and the next level and the next level. And it grades it automatically. It's interactive. It's self-evaluating yourself, and you can actually check in with students to see how they're doing on this. And you don't do the work; they do the work.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there a way for a teacher to know what the students are actually doing?
Yes. There's a free version of it, and there's a paid version of it as well. But I love the idea. I think this actually could free us up in some ways on the amount of time, and it's individualized in a certain sense that you can direct kids to go, and then you come back and you have a coaching session how to do better. So that's something to talk about. But I think despite Xander's desire not to be literate anymore, I think it's we're running out of time. I've got about 10 minutes on this. What may end up happening is we'll come back session 2, and we'll keep this conversation going. Okay. I don't want to upgrade right this minute, where I have to pay for this.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. What else? Where was I? Okay. So could we assign this theory and ear training, how to imagine what this might be, to one of us to set aside some time to come up with an approach? Seth, could we have somebody do that?
Yes, we could.
Awesome. Who would that be?
I think that maybe Seth could do that.
Oh, awesome. That would be so good. All right, Seth, you're up there.
One thing, and I mentioned this earlier, but one thing that's occurred to me about a lot of online education is that it's boring. It's just flat out boring, a lot of it.
Horrid.
Because
right.
When you're sitting there learning stuff, if it's not things that you would have sought out on your own because you thought it was fun to begin with, the biggest part about learning that's enjoyable is the group atmosphere of it and sitting in class and interacting. And when you take that away, and it's just somebody delivering a lecture to you that you would not have chosen for yourself, it is incredibly boring, which is why so many kids check out when they're not in the face-to-face environment anymore.
Right.
And so throughout this whole thing, we have to figure out ways to make it fun. And there are lots of things you can do to make it fun, but the more that we can excite their creativity to prompt them to go crank out something on their own and sort of run with something, that's the kind of feel we want to it. Yep. As opposed to like sit here for 20 minutes while I deliver some information to you. That's just, it's not fun.
Okay.
So
by the way, in the chat,
I will be thinking about, but it'll also be things that the rest of us think about. Because, you know, in the salons, for instance, there's all sorts of sessions that we give instructing them on how to do something. And those are excellent face-to-face sessions. But if we said, well, instead of doing salons, we're going to set up 10 videos for you to watch where we give you all this information, we've just lost fun that might be there, and it becomes this heavy, laborious thing.
I think you're right. I think the idea is the way we do it in a group is people are throwing ideas out, say, oh, don't forget articulation. And they're doing these, it's got to be an additive thing, and it's collaboration where everyone is building that, like the things for your score and your parts. What do you need to have in there? So yeah, I agree. That kind of participatory vibe has got to be essential. And actually collaboration like videos like this, and also work hangouts is another way to contribute to the ideas. So, okay. We've got, how many seconds? No, we got 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So composition, do we want to say a theme, or how do you want to do this now? Do you want to delay this conversation for later? Do we come up with a chamber ensemble or solos, or how do we talk about this?
Okay, so here's the question that's been weighing on me is, I feel like there's still a remote possibility that if we say no camp this summer, we're doing an online thing, I still think there's a possibility this COVID-19 could blow over quicker than we think it will. And so I'm hoping, of course, and we don't want to burn all the bridges and then find out that we jumped the gun.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is, if we wait too long, we're not going to have any time to promote what we're actually doing. And I felt like this month of April is a time that we just need to try to hold our horses a little bit. And that within a week or two from now, I think we're going to have way more clarity on how things are progressing or not progressing.
Yeah. I'll tell you, in Minnesota, the date for reassessment is May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you, Seth. That it works out perfectly. I do think there's two issues, both communicating what our plan is going to be. So I agree with you, wait a little while, but if we go to plan B, which is we're going to have camp, it's going to be online. I don't think we should say we're not going to have camp, we're going to do stuff online. I think the message is, hey, camp is going to be online. It's going to be a reinvented experience for junior composers. And interestingly enough, there's an opportunity that comes out of this. Plan B actually can be sustained into the future. If this becomes an online camp, we could have the in-person camp and the online camp, and we can actually make it up.
That's right.
We'd have to reinvent it even more because we want to get, we'll get better at it, basically.
I totally agree. So maybe our first step should be to communicate with the people that are already wanting to come to camp and tell them that either way they're going to have an experience this summer. But we try to hold off. Could we hold off till the beginning of May to say we're definitely doing this or definitely not doing that?
So the question then is, I think that makes sense, except the question is, if we're asking them to write a piece for a chamber ensemble, which we'd put together here, they'll only have about a month unless we push back the deadline into June, later into June.
We could definitely push back the deadline, but either way, the only thing that we could say definitively now, if we were wanting to say something definitively, would be to cancel it. You know what I mean?
Well, cancel it or make it just online.
No, I'm just saying, as far as the ensemble is concerned.
Let me have that baby.
Hi, Elsie.
Let me have that baby.
Look, who are those guys?
Hi.
How do I make
I'm
this
excited
video?
to meet you.
Hi.
There, look at that. Look at that, Elsie.
Hi.
Can you smile?
Hi. Well, at
What a
least she's not
world
crying.
she was born into.
She's not crying. That's good news.
She likes it when I whistle. There you go.
Yes.
Smile. You guys got to whistle at her.
I'm smiling too much. I can't make the pucker. There she's smiling. Oh.
Right, you got to make her smile. She's got the biggest smiles.
A happy baby.
Here we go.
Wow. That's gorgeous smile.
Yeah, she's a pretty chill little gal. She sleeps about 10 to 11 hours a night. So
You are too
Wow.
lucky. That's
we're very
amazing.
blessed.
All right, so I'm going to say,
Yeah, so much for that.
let's say the May the 4th be with you, Seth.
Okay. So do you want to try to, should we talk to the people who are already signed up?
Yep.
And tell them that either way we're doing something?
Yep.
And then maybe wait till the first part of May to fully like announce what we're doing and start running toward it?
And we should let them know if there's a plan A, there's a plan B. We're going to do it one way or the other.
Okay.
And I do think the other point I was going to say is, if we're going to plan, I have less than a minute, guys. I'll send you another invitation in about a second.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Bye.